Among movement types, there's been this expression, "our guy." It's one of those text meme kind of things that that you hear or see rather from people sometimes. You hear, for example, Mel Gibson is forward slash our guy, one word, our guy. Um, and that's by that is what is meant by that is he is in sympathy with our aims, in sympathy with the ways in which we would like to see the world be transformed. He's our guy, or she's our girl. Now, I know that this is sort of taking it out of the realm of the movement, but I have always felt that M. Night Shyamalan is forward slash our guy, just in the sense of being a true cultural conservative at heart, a wholesome kind of a person with a wholesome aesthetic, a somebody who values tradition and family, and I think that you see this thread throughout Shyamalan's movies, even though a lot of them are weird and freaky, and some of them are, what some people would even call campy. I know that he early on received a lot of acclaim for The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, and in particular, my favorite of his is The Village. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful movie. But that started a period in which he really started to get savaged by critics and fans, or by critics and regular moviegoers alike, who just sort of came to see him as a kind of fraud, or as somebody who was just formulaic, or whose premises were silly or overblown. But I've always been Team Shyamalan, even through the darkest of days, and I was very happy when he had a sort of turnaround that he began. I think with that movie about the elderly couple, the grandparents, who turned out to be crazy monsters. I can't remember the title of that one, but then Split was also very well received, and he was back. But for me, he hadn't left. Now, again, what I appreciate about Shyamalan's oeuvre, or his aesthetic, or his general output, is that I see this thread running through his films of wholesomeness, of valuing the wholesome and the good. There are portrayals of bad things, including bad things among within a family, including infidelity or temptations to infidelity. And he's one of the few filmmakers who explores, or who has had this theme of female infidelity. This was explored in The Happening, where there was a strong temptation for the woman and of the main couple, the wife of Marky Mark, the new girl that I can't remember her name right now, who was big a few years ago. She was like struggling with cheating on her husband, and maybe not loving him as much as he loved her, and and Shyamalan can go there. He will go places where it's not popular for for the culture for him to be. He'll invoke things that are plainly not in line with what's PC or woke or acceptable, but he does it in a way that is more or less an end around. He's not a confrontational type of a type of filmmaker, really. But I think that he ultimately, again, he wishes to exalt the good, to exalt the beautiful, to exalt uh, the innocent. Innocence is a huge theme in Shyamalan's movies, and he wishes to denigrate or to be critical or extremely critical even of violators of innocence, violators of purity or of fidelity, and we also see this culture of life, dare I call it, this theme cropping up in much of his work, in which is against the exploitation of the innocent, the exploitation of the unaware by those sort of would-be elites who try to justify their horrific behavior by thinking in their minds, well, we're actually doing good by doing evil to these people. We see, and this is the case in several of his movies, but it is most obvious in his new movie Old, which is a movie that I do recommend, and I recommend it pretty strongly. It's not my favorite Shyamalan film. It's not The Village. It's not The Sixth Sense either, or Unbreakable, or Split, which I also thought was really, really good, really well acted, really very evocative, very tense. But in spite of that, it's still a very thought-provoking work of piece of cinema. And when I say piece of cinema, that sounds very exultant or exalted. But I think it's true what some of Shyamalan's critics say, and even what some of his supporters say, is that he works within what could be called the B-movie framework in a lot of ways. He's on one level, these are all just thrillers or scary movies, but there's more going on than immediately meets the eye and the ear. And Shyamalan is also somebody whose cinematic manner of direction calls attention to itself. You'll find shots that suddenly the cast is being filmed from above, or there's some scene that's the manner in which it's filmed is very startlingly original, and gives it helps to give it an additional jolt, or a more of a state of tension, and so he's a very skilled filmmaker, again working within the thriller, fantasy, horror genre, but I think but there's more going on than would typically be there in just a genre, a piece of genre work. Okay, so he's an auteur who is hiding out within this genre type of filmmaking. So Old. You've probably seen the preview, and if you've seen the preview, you probably know something about the premise. I will tell you though that what you find out in the preview is really not the most interesting thing about the movie itself. And I'm not going to give any real spoilers here. I guess there's going to be a mild spoiler, but I don't think anything I'm going to say here is going to ruin the movie for anyone who is intending to see it. And I went into it completely cold. I hadn't read any reviews. All I had seen were the previews. And if I didn't know it was Shyamalan, I don't know whether I would have seen it. I might have been somewhat tepid about going to see it. But I'm a believer in Shyamalan. I am a believer that I trust him to take me places that it will be good for me to go. So I went again fairly blind, only knowing what's the details, the information that you find out about in the previews, which is that these people are on this beautiful beach and they're enjoying themselves. It's this beautiful tropical locale, and things seem to be well and good and nice and pleasant and beautiful with the palm trees and the lovely ocean and all of that. But eventually it becomes clear that for some reason on this beach, all of the people are aging rapidly. So for every, I can't remember what it was, but for like every half hour is like a year. So there's a trio of kids, there's a brother and sister who are the main characters, who end up being the main characters in the movie, and another little girl who go there around the ages of 6, and 9, and suddenly they're looking like they're like the youngest, like the 6-year-olds are looking like they're 11, and the 9-year-old is now looking like she's 14, and the adults are also aging, so they become aware of what's going on. They don't know why it's happening, and they desperately try to escape from this beach where they're slowly dying because their lives are speeding up. And I guess from the preview, you would have the impression that this was just kind of some Twilight Zone kind of thing, where this is just it's just some magical beach that has this property or like some fantasy island kind of in reverse, because it's like the opposite of a fantasy. It's a nightmare. But just you would just think this is just something that's like some haunted or cursed locale where this is just happening, and that's not the case, as it turns out. There is a reason why this effect is being had at this beach, an ostensibly scientific reason. Now, is it a plausible reason? I don't know, and I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. But what is more interesting is, and again, this is the mild spoiler, what's more interesting is there is someone, these people are all part of an experiment, and they've all been lured to this beach under false pretenses by people who represent the elites. And there's even a scene with, for those in the know who know what to be looking for, there's a scene where these said elites are looking on with a checkerboard floor, And of course, that's a cue for everybody who's read VigilantCitizen.com, or just anyone who's in the know about these kinds of things. So the big reveal is that they are subjects of an experiment, and I'm not going to go into detail about the experiment, but just to say it's something that these elites, these people who are conducting this experiment, they justify it to themselves in the same way that the elites, the so-called elites, the self-christened elites of our realm, justify so much of what they do by saying, well, it's all what we're doing, is all for the good. Yes, we want to we want to wreak catastrophic havoc upon the world, and ruin the lives and end the lives of millions and millions and millions of people. But it's okay because we are the true gods on this earth, and we can do what we believe to be best. It's the same kind of mindset as that, or this sort of mindset of the ends justifying the means. And so when that sort of that piece of the puzzle gets revealed late in the movie, it's teased a little bit earlier, but when it actually comes in, when we actually see it present itself, that's when we know what the movie is all about. We see the full spectrum of what's going on, and what Shyamalan is really up to here, and what he is critiquing, and what he is exalting too, because the children who are trapped in this, specifically this brother and sister, the children of this couple in a troubled marriage, who are visiting this, who have gone to this resort, sort of as a last hurrah before they are going to separate, and the kids know what's going on, even though the parents are attempting to keep this information from them. We see through the eyes of these kids who grow up way too fast. Literally, they grow up way too fast, and over the course of a day and night, they go from being little kids to being middle-aged adults, but they still, have there is still an innocence that shines through, and there is still a means by which the innocent can turn the tables on these so-called elites, these supposedly ultra-sophisticated people who exalt themselves, and who justify what they are doing by saying that it's a means to a greater end, or that they're really actually doing good for humanity by luring these people basically to this horrible circumstance where they die a horrible death, most of them, except the ones who escape, as you will see as you have seen if you've seen the movie, or as you will see if you plan to see the movie. So that's what I really, again, just to finish up my thoughts, that's what I really dig about Shyamalan, and why I'm such an adherent of his, why I'm such a believer in him and in his work, it's not just the craftsmanship of it. It's the fact that I believe in Shyamalan we have a real countercultural figure, a countercultural storyteller, a pro-family, pro-wholesomeness, pro-traditionalist, anti-degeneracy kind of person, but just someone who has been clever enough not to just butt heads with degenerate Hollywood. Instead, he does an end around again, like he always does. He finds a way to get the message out, but he does it in a manner that doesn't immediately raise the hackles of the SJW crowd out there. Now, there were certain things that he did that he has done before that were more brazen, such as the implicitly pro-white a message of the Village, or how he when he did the Avatar movie, which wasn't very good. That was probably his low point, his nadir as a director. But how he took these characters who had been Asian in the manga and made them white kids. In those cases, I thought, wow, that's pretty ballsy. But most of the time, he works in a more subtle way, and he does this. His countercultural, pro-tradition, pro-wholesomeness, anti-degeneracy really comes through in a movie like Old, which I recommend highly for you to see. And I'm interested to hear anybody else who's seen it, what you think about it. Thanks for watching. My name's Andy Nowicki. Please check out my work at ultrarightnovelist.com. And please, if you're interested in my latest novel, The Insurrectionist, go to terrorhousepress.com to purchase that book. Talk to y'all soon.